afternoon, everyone. This is a new edition of the My WHIM Life show where we use wisdom, humor, inspiration, and motivation to help you go after the life you want. Today we have the incredible Hanna McGee with us. She is an amazing entrepreneur and moving in so many different circles. I keep hearing the most incredible things about her, so I had to get her on the show so we can chat a little bit more and share her with you. So Hanna, tell everyone a little bit about who you are.
Well, thank you, Wendy. First off, it's pronounced Hanna. I'm so used to for people to say Hannah a lot that I sometimes just like, yep, that's me. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It means so much that you invited me in this space and that we have mutual connections that have, suggested that I'm on here. So it's just an honor to be a part of what you're doing. It's so awesome to see how you uplift women and celebrate them and give them a platform to share their stories and what they're doing to make a difference in this world. So I appreciate that.
I'm so happy to do it. It's just my passion project.
Yeah. And I love how creative the platform you make it instead of just a podcast, which is really fun to listen to. I love that you have, you do it on YouTube and you're able to broadcast it in a different way and help people get to know the face also behind the voice too. So yeah. I love it. Yeah. I love it. I'm Hanna McGee and I live here in Caldwell. I grew up in Nampa, so I'm very familiar with Canyon County, and I love Canyon County. Actually, when I was younger, I said, probably like most kids, I will never move to live or raise a family or move back to Canyon County. But, sometimes your words, you kind of go in a full circle and you eat your words that you say. And so when I got married to my husband 16 years ago, he is from Caldwell. And so I did move back to Canyon County just kind of started a world of being very involved in our community. My husband served in the legislature at the time. And, I dove more into the community and serving, giving opportunities to serve and on different levels. And what I really realized is there is such a quality about Canyon County. When I say Canyon County, for those of you who don't know, in Idaho, Canyon County encompasses Caldwell, Nampa, Middleton, and some of the surrounding areas. It has been a very high area in Idaho for agriculture. Kind of that down home, I guess, very small town feel. It's definitely growing right now. Yeah. But still, I believe a lot of the qualities that have been here for so long are still here, and that's why people are attracted to this area. So being involved, I really came to really love this community even more. And so in 2018, I started a social media platform with my sister to promote Canyon County. There were other platforms that were promoting like Boise and Meridian, but nothing really to like kind of brag about what the great things were happening here, how you could eat, shop, do all the things here, but there was nothing. And so I'm like, well, I'll do that. I want to start something to let the world know how great Canyon County is, how they can come to this awesome place to participate and shop and support this community. So I started that with my sister, and so that was a really great experience for me because I got to know business owners on a more personal level. It was a platform to promote them and let people know what was going on, how they could support them. And my whole goal was to really personalize these companies, and because I feel like when you know kind of more of the story behind the scenes of why they started this business or who they are, you almost feel like you have a vested interest or a vested kind of passion for, that's my shop, that's my store,
Yeah.
or that's my coffee shop or whatever. And so I really wanted to be able to share those stories and really share that on a platform. And so what I also realize is a lot of these small businesses, not only in Canyon County, but I would say over the Treasure Valley, a lot of them are owned by women. And so what I started seeing is that these business women who own these companies, of course, they were disconnected with the rest of the community. They're disconnected with other women. They were doing fine and they were killing it as much as they could. But I could also see, like, because they weren't connected with other people or other companies, that their potential. I could see their potential, right? And so what I realized, and something that I have a heart for, of course, are women, to empower them and to give them the tools to help to grow their business even more. And I know that there are so many people, so many businesses that don't have the opportunity or even know how to market, because they're focused on selling their product and getting, having the income come in to support their families and whatever.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to create another space for women to be able to truly connect, not necessarily a network. I had been a part of a lot of different traditional networking groups. And what I realized too is I always left unhappy or just like, why am I wasting my time at these places? I feel like I have to refer this one insurance person because they're a part of my networking group, but I don't even know that person. So why would I refer that person when I don't know them? Or whoever it was. And so I wanted to provide that space where you connect first and get to know those people before referrals or financial or growth support ever happens. And I felt like too, we are kind of superficially connected through social media. Social media is a huge tool, which I love, to connect people. But I think too many people will just hide behind that and and not reach out and not find support or not have any true connections anymore. And so it was kind of like this lost art as well. So with the help of one of my friends, I started To See Women Connect. And so it was a platform and a monthly mixer for women of all walks of life. I also didn't want to limit it to just entrepreneurs or business owners. I wanted to open it to stay-at-home moms and corporate women, because stay-at-home moms want to connect and they want to know who they should go get their nails done from, or who they should shop with. And so I really wanted it to be a more inclusive platform for these women. So I started, and it was a hit. Women are hungry for that, and they want a safe space where they're not going to be judged. And then through that, I also realized too that women had a really hard time connecting within their same industry. And so, if it was a bunch of hairdressers or stylists that did lashes or, makeup or whatever, they had a really hard time reaching out to that fellow stylist down the street or in a different town, because somehow we as women, we've created these walls. I think it's a false fear or lies that if I open myself up to you and tell you that the things that I'm struggling with and that I need help with, you will come along and try to take over my business or try to take my clients.
Competition type.
Yeah, and competition, it's obviously a vulnerability to open up and say, hey, I need help. You've done it well, and so I started seeing that this was something that really needed to be addressed. And so I started addressing it at our mixers, and I started talking about how important it is to be a little vulnerable and share your struggles with your business with another fellow person who works in the same industry. And then I would challenge them by putting them all, like I'd separate them all into their own industries, because we would tend to have a lot of stylists and a lot of realtors, a lot of photographers. And so I moved them all into this one group. And I'm like, the photographers over here, the stylists over here, the retail people over here.
Yeah.
And really gave them some prompting questions to really cause that vulnerability, which obviously helps you connect, and really realize that whether you may be struggling with something that someone else is very strong with, they may be struggling with something that you can offer as your strength. And so I think women quickly saw that each other, they weren't a threat to each other, right?
Yeah.
And the more that they support each other and found ways to fill in those gaps with each other, the more each of them grew in their business, because they didn't, it's like that limiting belief when you you hold back so much, you really don't grow. But when you can release that in more of an abundance mindset to support that other woman, right, who serves the same kind of people that need their hair done or whatever, that they really truly do grow. So that is those are the kind of the two things: my community and supporting businesses as a whole, and women, and teaching them how to connect and how to support one another. It has been really kind of my passion for the last handful of years, and really developing that and strengthening that and finding more ways to help women be empowered to grow, to really own their business, kind of being the CEO of your business, really, instead of just passively trying to figure it out. There are many women out there that can support you and help you grow as well. So those are kind of the two things that I've been really focusing on recently to really continue to grow. So
yeah, I absolutely love that. I love that, that piece where we take what has been known as a competitive type endeavor and really finding the common ground there, so that we can learn from each other and grow from each other, and use each other to lean on. Because this, being a woman entrepreneur in particular, is really, really hard. We seem to have a lot of obstacles that we've got to overcome. And a lot of that, in all honesty, is just that pride.
yes,
That we should be Instagram ready, that we should have it all together already. And it's so amazing when you see those walls start coming down and realize that none of us have it together all the way in the background. Not a single one of us.
It's so true. It's so true. Yeah. And I think the biggest example of when I go back and say that the lies that we tell ourselves about each other, especially in the same industry, I mean, what it spurred from is the example that I had that. I remember when I started iHeart2C with my sister, and people are like, "Oh, this is so great. Have you reached out to Natalie at Hello Meridian or Diana at Boise Bucket List?" And at that time, of course, my pride, I'm like, hell no. Am I going to reach out to those women who have thousands and thousands of followers? They had already, they do some Canyon County promotions here and there. And so I'm like, if they know that I don't know anything and then I'm just trying to wing it and figure it out to try to promote my community, they're just going to sweep in and take over because they know how to do it, right? Those were my fears that I told myself, right? And people were like, no, that's, they're great girls, no big deal. And I was, for three months, I think 3 or 4 months, I would not reach out to them at all. And I knew I should, but I was just too afraid, and I let my fear get the best of me. And then actually Diana from Boise Bucket List was the one that helped me get my women mixers started, because she had started collaboration over competition. Yes. And so I said, hey, I really want to do something similar here. And so she met with me and we talked. And of course, she was the most empowering woman. Like, yes, this is your community. I don't want to take over. And I told her how I felt. I was nervous. And she's like, you have a passion for this community. You love this community. Why would I try to take over that? I have my own, I'm trying to manage Boise. And so just to have that reassurance that, she had no intention. It was a lie that I told myself, right? And so totally. It opened the door for me to meet Natalie, and those women, among many others, have been so empowering, and in no way have ever wanted to try to take my business away from me or take my clients. I mean, it's just, and so that's when I realized this is a lie that I am telling myself, and I know so many other women are doing the same because I've heard them say that. And it was very humbling for sure to kind of have that reality slapped in my face, no, this is just a lie you've told yourself, and get over it, because it's your pride and your ego. So
yeah. it's exactly the opposite of what you're trying to teach, you know? So you're
Right?
like,
Yes.
oh, okay, I got this.
Yes. And I still, I will find myself in a weakness, like, comparing myself, or like, gosh, intimidate or whatever. But it's funny how when that has happened, how those very women that maybe I'm like, oh gosh, somehow some type of competition has risen up in me. Somehow there's like, hey, I want to meet with you. I'd love to see what you're doing. And it totally breaks down that false lie again. Like, they're just normal women. Like you said, we don't all have it figured out. Sometimes we may look like it with a pretty picture or some words, but yeah, we don't have it all together.
Exactly. So. I know. All of us are really so similar when we get down to it. And if we'll just let those walls, those protective walls, come down just a little bit, it's super fun to see that we really all have similar struggles, and some of us are farther along than others. I'm way behind other people, and I've definitely learned that the hard way, just like you, and finally going, hey, this is the next step that I would like to take. I know you've already taken that step. Would you have a conversation with me? And it really usually all starts with a conversation, and then everything changes. Everything changes.
It sure does. Yeah. It's very freeing and very empowering too, because then you don't realize that, or then you realize that you don't have that wall holding you back, or you realize that these things that I've told myself are not even true. So I have more freedom to grow, or more freedom to reach out to those women. And once you realize that that's actually, that lie is just truly a lie, and you break it down. So
absolutely. So obviously there's all of the passion and the energy and the fun going into this, but when it gets down to it, there are day-to-day things that have to be done, and most of them are usually not a whole lot of the fun part, like the mixers are. So what habits have you put into play? What tools do you use to stay focused and moving forward?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say before mid 2020, last year, I was kind of flying by the seat of my pants in a way. Like, I've always been one. I'm an Enneagram 3. I'm an achiever. I don't necessarily need a plan to, like, if I see something that I want to do, I will do it and then figure it out once I've jumped, right?
Right.
And what I've realized as I've grown these things, there's only so much of that you can do. You do eventually have to have a plan. You eventually have to have a strategy. And so I came to that point where I'm like, I organized with my time has never been a very good one for me. And so I actually, this last fall, hired a time management coach to really, because I remember all my life, there's been many times where people are like, just make a plan, just make a plan or schedule it out. And I would sit down and I'm like, but I'm trying to, like, it was so hard to click that together.
Yeah.
And it was partly maybe because I was just never had the tools to know what that looks like. Because I know when I have been given guidelines or an outline of something, of just an example, then I realize I can plug my plan into it, right? So she taught me how to batch schedule my week, and that was worth every single penny that I paid. Is just, she gave me taught me some other tools, but that one thing was so big for me, and really being able to, because I had, so much in my mind and so much I was doing, and to be able to batch it into days, like similar things into days, and to have that predictability, to know that, okay, I don't have to do everything every day. And if, there's something that comes up on a Thursday, I know which day that can be taken care of, right? And so now, really I feel like the last 6 months, my mind has been able to clear so much of just clutter and like chaos, and have a lot of more clarity to, like you just asked, to how I juggle it all, and how I'm able to now end my days before I have to go pick up my kids, so that I can truly, I've always wanted to have that job, or, stay at home, because I work from home, where I'm done when my kids home and shut it off. And I've never been able to really do that. And now that I have a structure in place, it's life-changing for me. It really has. That one tool has been able to just give me the ability to manage my time and the workload that I do have, and get it all done. So
yeah, I remember those times right before I found batch scheduling, because I do the same thing, and it's I love it.
Yeah.
I remember being like, I'm sure I can go, like, I'll go to the grocery store on this day, and I will make sure, and I'm only doing, real estate on this day, and I would kind of figure out along the way, and then I would look back at the day and I'd be like, but I have no idea what I did today. Like, it just, you just can't figure it out. You can't look at those pieces after the fact and figure out how it worked. But if you have a plan going forward, now I'm like, I got this done and this done and this done and this done, because I had a plan moving forward. Yeah. It just is so powerful.
It is really powerful. And I'm so happy that I can now truly, the things that like I said, that I want to do, I'm able to do now, like the intention with my time with my kids and stuff. It's like, I can breathe, and I can give that time, because I know tomorrow I'll get those things done, so yeah, it's been great.
Yeah. You talked about, getting the chaos out of your mind. And I think that's really powerful for a whole lot of people, because I think we as women, because we do tend to multitask, we tend to try to hold all of the information in, and all of that list of to-dos that we're responsible for. And it seems overwhelming and almost impossible in some cases. Like, how can I possibly get all of this stuff done? Where if we would just take a couple of minutes and go, okay, it'll take me 30 minutes to go to the store, and it takes me 30 minutes to go pick up my kids, and it takes me an hour to get ready in the morning. If we literally will just break down a few of those things, all of a sudden seeing it in black and white, or color coded, as I prefer, it just seems possible. That which was impossible just a few minutes before.
Right. No, it is powerful. And I've heard it for so long, but then being able to see it on paper and how she lined it out for me, and it was just so transformational in my life, for sure. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So in all of the things that you do on a regular basis, what are some of the non-negotiables that keep you held on a solid foundation?
So my non-negotiables, I are in getting up earlier in the morning. I get up at 5 in the morning. I've been starting to say I'm a morning person, but I've never naturally been a morning person, like getting up, like boom, out of bed. Like it's still, even though I do it all the time, it's still like, I'd rather sleep in, I'd rather sleep. But I just realized how valuable that is mentally, spiritually, for me to have that time before my family gets up, and read my Bible and pray and journal, just the things that I'm going through. And then I've been intentionally moving my body in the morning too, because I am quite busy during the day. I don't always get to the gym or whatever, and so, which has been a mind shift for me too, because just instead of saying I have to work out, or I have to build muscle, or whatever those things are, I've just realized I need to move my body every day, because I know now that that I feel so much better when I move my body, and I feel so much clearer, and have more energy and all that. So those have become non-negotiables. I'm still in the moving my body negotiating sometimes. But I'm telling myself, like, it is becoming a non-negotiable, because I tell myself, even though I don't want to get up and do that, I never regret it, right? So those, for the morning, that's part of my non-negotiable. And then really when I did the time blocking, the non-negotiable is, after 3, when I pick my kids up, that I'm not on my laptop. I'm not, between them picking them up and dinner, those are times focused on them, their homework or whatever. Sometimes I'll go back to my computer if I need to at the end, but I don't, with my batch schedule, I don't feel like I need to, right? And so, those kind of non-negotiables have definitely been ones that I've been implementing this year for sure. And so those are the ones that I've not been budging on for sure. I know I would love to spend more time, like a date night with my husband, but that is a negotiable right now because he's a coach for my kids, and so that's always hard. But we do spend some good time together. But I would say those are my few ones right now. So
yeah, I want to go back to something that you said, because I think it's really, really important for a lot of women to hear, and that's talking about moving your body every day, and how it's on your non-negotiable list, but you are arguing with that sometimes. For all of those women out there that are like, I absolutely do not want to exercise, or I just don't, like, it's not enjoyable for me. I encourage all women out there to really just, even if you are just walking around the block or walking for 15 minutes on the treadmill, or anything that you can do to move your body in the morning, because one of the most powerful things that I think you said was, I never regret it, and that is such an amazing feeling, because I know exactly what that feels like. I am, working out is not always easy for anyone, moving your body of any kind, but I have never once gone to the gym or, walked on the treadmill where I then said, well, that was a big waste of time.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, I've never felt that way. And if you can get addicted to that feeling of no regret, that is what solidifies your non-negotiables.
Yeah, definitely. And I think and you kind of reminded me of that too, but I think, when we hear non-negotiables, right, we think they're concrete in stone, and we want them to be, but in reality, we are fighting for those non-negotiables, right? And I think the more we can be dedicated to them, whether we don't feel like it or not.
Yeah.
But just knowing that, like you said, we never regret those non-negotiables. Like all of those things that I have made a point and tried to, be disciplined about doing, I've never regretted shutting my laptop off and spending that time, right? Or never regretted getting up at 5 to spend the time in my faith and strengthening that part of it too. So any of those non-negotiables I think we make in our lives, like you said, I don't think we ever regret when we pursue through that feeling of, I don't want to do this again. It's definitely worth it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if you were going to give one piece of advice to someone that's just starting out on a new journey, whether that is, single mom life or entrepreneur life or whatever that might be, what would that advice be?
Man, I think, I can relate in some, like, entrepreneur life, but I think, in anything, you have to give yourself grace. And, me, like I said, I'm a number 3. And then, so if you know the Enneagram at all, like, I'm an achiever and I want to show people I'm doing well. Like, there's this whole thing about just performing and making people think I have it all together and everything and all the time. And I've really had to learn that, like, that's not the case, nor do people really care if you have it all together. They want to know you're a real person, that you struggle with things, and so I think really when you're starting a new journey is giving yourself grace to fall down and fail, but to get up again and give it a shot and have that just like, okay, this is a learning journey. This isn't the end if I fail. This isn't the end of the road. There's always an opportunity to figure out something different. and if something doesn't work, that's okay. It doesn't mean anything about you. It just means that you're in a process of learning all the time. And that if we can experience our life that way in our business, even when we go through shitty times, because, I've definitely been there, and they're really hard to get through sometimes. But when you do come on the other side and you think about the opportunities for growth and the opportunities for new relationships and the opportunities to impact other people because of what you've gone through, that always has helped me keep going, and I think can keep other people going too, especially when they're right in the middle of that difficult time too. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what is the best way to find you and your 2C Women Connect?
Yeah, so I did change my mixer names, the group, because 2C obviously, once again, stood for Canyon County, so I hosted all my events here in Canyon County, but I would say about 60 to 70% of the women that attend my events are from Meridian and Boise, and so to be fair to them and give them a little break to drive, I'm continuing to spread out throughout the Treasure Valley this year with our mixers, so I changed it to Empowered Women Connect. So you can find me there on Instagram. I'm there all the time. That's my favorite platform, is Empowered. I think it's empowered.women.connect on Instagram. And we will be, I'm not sure when this is going to be coming out, but we do have a mixer coming up March 30th at Coffee and Supply in Eagle, which we're really excited about. So when I have that link, I'll send it to you so you can send it out if people are interested. But we're always talking about those and posting on that, so you can always see what's coming up. We also have a membership for female entrepreneurs that really want to grow their business and know they need more tools in their toolkit to help their business to go to the next level. So we have a membership as well that we talk about. So that would be the best place to find me.
Perfect. That sounds fantastic. And my last question that I always love to ask is, how do you give back?
How do I give back? Well, actually, my mixers that I host, I believe, is where I give back. I'm very intentional with everything that I do with my mixers. The location that I host them at is always to give that business more exposure to a new group of women, usually. And then the women that I collaborate for their drinks and their food are always intentional to give them exposure. And then just really what I give back for the women to create that platform for them to connect, because there's not many opportunities to do that here, especially because of COVID. And I'm grateful that we're able to find ways to still do that around, all the different restrictions that we've been able to, or that have been in place. So I feel like that's part of, how I give back, especially to women. So
yeah, I absolutely agree. It's so interesting, because something that I obviously attribute to a give back opportunity, some women completely miss it. Like, they don't see how they are giving back. They're just blinded to it. And then they feel like they have to do something different. So I honestly applaud you for being willing to give yourself a pat on the back and say, this is what I'm doing to give back to my community, and this is how. So I appreciate that so much.
Thank you. Thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, I have absolutely loved chatting with you, and I can't wait to dig into more Empower Women Connect so that we can share that with as many women in the Treasure Valley as possible.
That's right. Yeah, me too. I can't wait to have you. Hopefully you can come to the next one for sure.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. It was an honor to be able to share on this platform with so many other awesome women that you've interviewed. So thank you so much.
You are most welcome. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for tuning in to the My WHIM Life show today. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a moment of the goodness.